Today, over 840 million people don't have access to clean drinking water, and every year more than 3.4 million of those die from illnesses as a result of drinking dirty or contaminated water. Most of these are children. This is the story of how the vision of one man and his legacy changed the lives of tens of thousands of people.
At the very core, he was a very thoughtful and caring person. He always looked out for people.
When you first meet someone, it's a bit awkward. Like, he would naturally just make everybody comfortable. Like, it's like you've known him for years.
I mean, you don't really realise it until you actually go out in the world, and then you hear his name, and then to you it's just Bashir.
I think it was his passion for the people and respect.
Just a all-around good person, like deep down.
Bashir Osman was born on the 10th of October 1988 in Kansas, USA. He and his family then moved to Somalia until civil war forced them to flee to Holland in 1992.
Wallah, Bashir was, mashallah, he was always happy. When he was growing up, he liked to play, especially football, and he went to stay with his friend and play PlayStation also.
He was the oldest in our house, and I was the youngest of the boys, so whenever we'd go out, my dad would tell me, yeah, Bashir, you have to hold on to him. It's a little kid running around. Make sure you look after him.
Me and Bashir, we didn't grow up in the same household, but we've got the same dad, you know. So the times we got to see each other was during school holidays, like summer, Christmas, Easter, or, you know, like birthday celebrations.
So it was nice childhood, riding bikes, going to school, running away from dogs. It's all about Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, Knickers. You know Knickers? The marbles.
He was compared to everything, to be honest. Like his studies, uni, everything, like in football as well. Like, if anyone has played with Bashir before, they'll know. Yeah, very competitive.
In 2001, after 7 years in Holland, the family moved to the UK, to the city of Birmingham.
If someone always laugh or always happy and smile, he was respecting everything.
My dad was like the Somali parent, and then he was like more British, like, so I'll a bit more relate to him. I know more. He was just funny, to be honest, like always make you laugh.
He used to play a lot of pranks. You'd ask him to make you a cup of tea or whatever, and he'd put salt in there instead of like sugar, and he would watch you take a sip. Be like, so do you like your tea then? You know.
Bashir devoted much of his time to his local mosque, often taking his brothers to encourage their Islamic education.
We used to go every day of the week. We'd go straight after school.
Sometimes he would teach me in the mosque as well. Like my dad would say, like to the teachers, like make sure these two are together, like he doesn't lose sight of him. So
he finished his Quran. He started teaching others. He had a very specific path that he wanted to go on and lead, and that it comes from someone who is quite conscious.
He had the right balance. He was funny and serious at the time. You'd respect him, and he would get on with everyone. Like, whenever I see videos of him, it's just him laughing, or people laughing at his jokes. It was just, he was the right guy for that job, basically.
He taught me to take my studies seriously, because he was a very good student. As in, especially when he was in college, he'd have an exam on Monday, but he's playing football on Sunday because he's already prepared everything.
Bashir was elected as the president of FOSIS, the Federation of Student Islamic Societies, and during his term in office, he decided to take on what seemed like an impossible mission: to raise enough money to build 50 water wells in East Africa.
He liked to help people, and that's why he decided to do the wells. He watched, some clips talking about dirty water, and you get ajr from this. As I told him, it will be like صدقة جارية.
Literally, the first thought that came to my mind was like, you are insane. Normally people start with £100, but £165,000, that was his target. Like, I was really proud of him that he had such like a big vision that he, you know, wanted to realise, but he also wanted to do Tough Mudder, which is another big hurdle.
With a massive target of £165,000 to raise and his training programme underway for the Tough Mudder Challenge, Bashir was ready for anything. But no one would foresee the tragedy about to befall him.
No one really prepares you for those calls.
One of Bashir's friends knocked the door and he said, can you give me your number, telephone number, because there was an accident.
I was lying on the couch, just sat back. It was just a really hot day as well, I remember that. And my sister called me.
It's always a shock. And then you obviously, at first you're just like, you don't really register it. And then after a bit it just hits you. And then you feel it all. And then it's horrible.
Bashir had been to a conference in Switzerland with some friends. It was a hot 4th of July and he had decided to take a swim in the river. A freak current swept him away and tragically he drowned. This photograph was taken minutes before he died.
A few hours ago, he was on Facebook. So it can't have been him. It's not him.
His friend's father called me and he told me that Bashir died. And that was shock to me.
I was asleep at the time, so it was a massive shock. Like, I literally woke up, my brother just said it to me. I was like, what? And I went downstairs. I came into this living room and then everyone was here. It was kind of sad and stuff. I went outside for some fresh air and then everybody started coming.
I think when I got to Birmingham, it was just kind of like he's actually gone.
And then at the time as well, there was conflicting stories all going around. No one actually knew what happened. And we had to wait so many hours to find actually what did happen.
Bashir's funeral was held at his local mosque. Thousands turned up to pay their respects and say goodbye to a man loved and respected in the local community and by people all over the world.
Everybody saying, what can we do? How can we? They were mourning for us and they helping. They were stood by us.
Like the janazah, there was good thousands of people there. Like it was, you don't see that when you're living with him, but then you go outside in the world and then you're just like, wow, like it just shocks you.
At the time you're in a different kind of mode, but then as soon as the janazah finishes and then no one comes again, then you realise it's not. Then you realise he won't be coming back.
After like a few days where I went and opened up my phone and just had a look, because I think one of my friends said, oh, there's a page that's been set up for Bashir.
The untimely death of Bashir sent shockwaves through not just the Muslim community, but also many of the people who came into contact with him. A Facebook page in his memory was set up so that people could pay their respects and reach out to each other in their time of grief.
The outpouring of condolences. Like a friend of mine sent me like a link to like the Guardian newspaper, for example. Like, why would they be writing about my brother? That's what I was thinking. I'd be like, you know, I mean, I know he was like a well-known person, but it just made me realise like how much of an impact he'd made in such a like short life.
Bashir's life had been so tragically cut short before he could attempt to reach his target of the 50 wells he'd pledged to raise the money for. His family and friends decided that they would continue to raise the £165,000 needed in his memory.
We all came together one night. We sat around and we said, we have to keep doing this. Like, we have to keep it going. And it was just, it was a total no-brainer.
Bashir had started training for a Tough Mudder event, which involved running 13 miles with extreme obstacles such as ice pools and electric wire nets. His sisters Abin and Adil and friends decided to pick up the challenge in Bashir's memory.
It was really, really difficult, you know, and I remember thinking, oh my God, like halfway through, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Jumping in and out of mud, like swimming through mud, getting electrocuted through mud, throwing yourself into ice water. But I just kept thinking, this is for him. This is what he wanted to do.
The donations started pouring in.
We make dua for them. They're great people, alhamdulillah. Like there's people that they didn't know him, they didn't know any of our family, they're kind of strangers, but they donated. They were just like, they were inspired by him. Like they heard the stories and stuff.
I was following the updates on Facebook, and then every second I was refreshing it, check to see how much money he's raised. Refresh, and it was nice. It was a proud moment. Yeah. After his passing, he became very prominent. He got to his goal very quickly then, and here we are now, 50 wells done.
The target Bashir had set himself of 50 wells had not only been reached, but had been surpassed. A total of £169,000 had been raised through the hard work of his friends and family, but also in memory of him. So how did a good son and brother from a respectable Muslim family have such an impact on the lives of people he'd never even met? Canadian poet, writer and film director Boona Mohammed was friends with Bashir. He has come to Birmingham to meet one of Bashir's closest friends and the then Vice President of FOSIS, Faisal Malik, to find out more about how so many people's lives, both friends and strangers, were touched by Bashir. Like many of Bashir's friends, he was devastated upon hearing the tragic news of his death.
Me and Bashir used to spend a lot of time together. In a week, probably we'd spend 3 or 4 days out of 7 days doing FOSIS work and all kinds of things. The first time we met was actually when we were at college. We were both at college, so Bashir's a year older than I am. And we met there. We kind of knew each other. You know, that would have been about 2007.
When I knew him, he was a joker. He was somebody who was forever, you know, cracking jokes, and he was just a really fun person to be around. Any fond memories stick out in your mind of him?
Yeah, so many memories, you know, and like you said, he was such a fun-loving person, and really we traveled up and down the country so much. You know, we traveled to different Islamic societies and helping them out, and I think that was the fondest memory and kind of the biggest takeaway from my time with Bashir was kind of showing people that, you know, you can have fun, you can have a good time, and you can do things in the service of the community and in the service of Allah at the same time.
The way I was introduced to FOSIS, yeah, it's quite funny. I was watching a football game, England versus Egypt. Who was there? Nobody was there. Just get out. I'm just joking.
We started a football league between all the different Islamic societies in the Midlands, and we used to. So me and Bashir would go to all the matches, and we would film interviews with the players and say, "What do you think about this team? What do you think about that team?" And start like rivalries and stuff. And it really kicked off, you know. It was awesome.
To get this, in your prayer room, having the bragging rights until next year, this is really it, to be honest. It can't get any bigger. Champions League, you said. There's no such thing as Champions League. There's the FOSIS Midlands Premier League champions, 2012, 2013. Sign out, bruv.
Bashir's unique way of connecting to everyone he met demonstrated his genuine interest in people and a love of humanity.
He was well into his fundraising when he passed away, and that was kind of the one chapter that was left open after he passed. You know, Bashir achieved so much in his life, you know, and he kind of fulfilled many of his goals and many of the things that he would have wanted to achieve. And I think as soon as people found out, everybody was so willing to help, and we set up a Facebook page in his memory. After he passed away, people were sharing memories, photos, videos, stories that they had with Bashir, you know, and it came from all over the world, you know. And within the space of a few months, people had kind of completed it on his behalf. So, you know, kind of for everything that he did for people in this life, they kind of paid him back by helping him fulfill the last goal that he set before he passed away.
His friends planted a tree in his memory outside the engineering building where he used to attend lectures. A fitting epitaph from those who appreciated him and the work he carried out. But what of those people who hadn't had the chance to thank Bashir? With the security situation in Somalia critical, Boona has decided to visit the wells in Ethiopia, the country his own family hail from, to see for himself the impact Bashir's wells have had on local communities there. Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa behind Nigeria. In 1984, it suffered one of the worst droughts and famines in modern history, with almost 400,000 deaths. The situation has improved dramatically over the past 3 decades. However, as with so many countries in Africa and Asia, clean water is hard to find, especially in remote rural communities. Hawassa is a lakeside town 280 kilometers south of the capital, Addis Ababa. Buna is heading into a remote mountainous area 4 hours northwest of Hawassa to a spring, which is the source of the clean water which has been channeled to remote village wells.
This is a place where the project that was meant to build the wells for Bashir Osman has been basically done. I mean, this is a community that is quite rural. Just to get here, you have to climb this huge mountain. And communities like this are really in need of water. Water for them is a basic source of necessity for everyday life.
Just from this one spring, harnessed under Bashir's project, more than 600 people in the surrounding area are serviced by this clean water source.
Okay, so this is the base of the wells. This is the spring which the wells actually come from. So this is a very important place because it is the birthplace of all the different wells that are helping sustain communities in this part of Ethiopia.
Mohammed Ibrahim and his organisation Eye on the Poor have been working with Penny Appeal to build these wells in Ethiopia.
Explain, how does this work? How does this get to the wells? Okay.
There's a natural spring around here,
Oh, I see. So the spring is actually
the spring is actually inside, and then we buried, we concreted each and with cemented, and then we paved over here. The water will come underground, and then just as you see here, it's poured, to this,
And through this device here, this mechanism here, you're able to then deliver water to all the other wells.
Exactly, yeah. All the community, they are using this from this water,
And if they didn't have this water, where would they have to go?
Wow, they have been, collecting, streams and polluted ponds, around the gorges. And when the gorges is over, just they will walk some 5 to 6 kilometers away from here to, another mountain areas, to collect polluted water.
And who mainly does the collecting of the water?
The women, children, specialists are collecting and responsible.
What types of waterborne diseases would be rampant?
Diarrhea is the first ones, diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, and also trachoma is also the second, waterborne disease related to the polluted water.
But since these wells have been established?
Since this water is established, they said that they are very safe.
The harnessing and transportation of this clean water from such a remote mountainous location is a feat of engineering, something Bashir would have appreciated. But how much of an impact do his wells have in a village setting? It's time to meet the beneficiaries themselves.
The view here is spectacular, but we are literally in the mountains right now. That means that for people to access water, they would be walking miles. What this well is doing is saving those young girls that journey. It's helping to relieve communities from disease and all the sicknesses that come with drinking dirty water. And it's helping them live their daily lives without having to worry about that daily necessity, which so many of us take for granted every single day.
As you see here, building, a hand pump is maybe easy in some other countries. But here in Ethiopia, building hand pump is also, even though it is easy, just you can't be reliant on the resource of the water. After constructing it, it will, the water will be dried within a short period of times. For example, when we are building these things, first, we will dig, the water in the source, and then just we'll bring through pipe, and then some 3 to 4 kilometers, and then we will bring, this water point access to the communities. As you see here, just give you guarantee that just the water will give, some 40 to 50 years, But in 50 years, yeah, without exaggerations, But in relation to hand pump, you will pump, even for the pregnant woman, it's very difficult, for them. Children, school boys and girls can simply, collect water easily, and then they will back to their homes. Before, the water is very far away from here, but now just it's very close to us. There is a problem before, but now just the problem is alleviated now, we are found in a good situation.
Well, just explain to them that Bashir Osman was my friend. He was somebody who many of us cared about in the UK, Somali brother. And he passed away, and when he passed away, before he died, he pledged to build 50 wells. And after he died, his family and friends fulfilled that pledge, and they helped to bring water to communities like this.
We don't know this person, or we don't know the one you say, the brother Bashir Osman, but he provided these things here. The only thing that we say to you is, may bless Allah his souls, and may Allah also give, any charity for remembering us. Had we seen the family of Bashir Osman, really we will present him a deep appreciation and a deep thanks for him.
Buna has returned to show Bashir's family the impact that just one of his 50 wells has had on this remote Ethiopian mountain community.
We just wanted to show you just a glimpse.
Yeah.
Just a glimpse.
This is only one.
It's only one.
You know, a glimpse of the work that Bashir left behind.
He did it. Like, he raised all that money, so he had big aspirations. That's how you could tell. Like, he was like, his mind was something else. He died in Ramadan. Like, the sadaqah jariyah still going for him. It's like, it's just, alhamdulillah, that's what I'm happy about.
Anything that brings about a positive change, I'll be behind any project that forwards his message.
A lot of people will benefit from now and years to come. When you think about it, it's huge. And it means a lot to us, and it would have meant a lot to him.
We like to continue Bashir's legacy. Even though he didn't know that people in East Africa or any part of the world, he was always thinking about them. People like his age, I like to encourage them to do the way Bashir was doing. They can do it.
Thank you, Bashir. 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 Thank you, Bashir.
A gift from Allah on earth, one that shaped our faces with a smile since the day of your birth. You brought to us a permanent grin from ear to ear, causing each of our concerns and worries to truly disappear. Your presence so strong generated through us a great atmosphere that we would burst into rhythmic cheers of continuous takbir. Bashir, our dearest Bashir, your love so genuine and sincere, your love so genuine and so sincere, for every brother that you drove was wild, whether it be the old, the young or the child. Every dispute that you saw was reconciled, for you knew that in the court of Allah it would be filed. A language of generosity you spoke, spreading your kindness across the globe in flames of smoke, reaching nations in every corner of this world that were in need of a cloak. On the shoulders of the giants you provoked us to evoke, to provide food, shelter, shoes and clothes, to fulfill your dream and build wells of H2O. Muhammad, peace be upon he, said to waste not water even at a running stream, to give in charity and build a team by boosting your brother's self-esteem where there is nothing except love in between. You emulated the teachings of our beloved until it became a routine. Allah is pleased with you, it would seem. So pleased with you that he lifted your soul in a month that is worth more than gold. Ramadan, a month wherein you reminded us to make of it the most, so that we would turn not old except in Islam's fold. Wells of water you had hoped to patrol, yet in water the qadr of your life was foretold. Allah is pleased with you, it would seem. So pleased with you that he made you amongst the shaheed who followed his deen. Bashir, our dearest Bashir, your friends and your family, we all witness your dedication. Your love for Allah infuse your motivation of the Islamic Federation, and you leave behind a legacy full of inspiration, aiding mosques and schools from multiple nations. Allah granted you a handful of patience. A pillar lost in our community, while a pillar is gained in paradise. We love you and we miss you, though we never got a chance to say our goodbyes. We miss your warm, sincere, tightly squeezed hugs that gave us butterflies, and we screamed out in cries, Bashir, that was too tight. We miss the twinkle that lit up your eyes, and your voice and your laughter followed by your sighs. So we raise our hands in supplication to be reunited with you above the skies, to have you embrace us with hugs that are amplified in the afterlife. But until the day of eternity, we will strive. We will strive to please Allah and ask Him to maintain our ties. We will pray for your companionship with the prophets and for your status to rise. We will pray for Allah to fill your bed of dust with light upon light. We will pray that He will give you until you're satisfied. We will pray that He will give you and give you until you are satisfied. And we will pray for your shortcomings to be nullified. And we will pray until the wetness of our tongue dries. From Allah to us you were gifted. Through water your body was drifted. And though your soul has now been lifted, your memory will never be shifted. A memory that lingers in our minds, but lives in our hearts. Living in our hearts, O Bashir.
And I really, really pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He keeps us sincere in everything that we do, whether it's our daily, home life, our ISOP life, our social life, everything. And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we don't ever see each other again, that we see each other in Jannah.
ذرف الدموع بلا سكن والقلب يصرخ يا زمن والعين تذرف من أسى والقلب عانقه الحزن والقلب عانقه الحزن يا وقت ليتك لم تسر للموت في خطو الشجن فأجاب حين سألته هذه الحياة وذي السنن هذه الحياة وذي السنن فعرفت أن حياتنا تمضي وتأخذ منسكا الشعر يرثي صاحبي ألما ودمعي محتتن ألما ودمعي محتتن بالأمس كنا رفقة واليوم أصبح في الكفن يا للمصائب إذ أتت في دهشة تنسي الوطن